Look at you, the one they used to control, the one they used to mock, the one they dangled on strings, pulling you this way and that, making you dance to their tune while they laughed in the shadows. They thought they had you figured out. They thought you were weak. They thought you would never cut the strings. But something changed, didn't it? Somewhere along the way, you stopped being their puppet. You stopped playing along. You stopped letting them decide who you were supposed to be. And now, here we are. The game has changed. The roles have reversed. The puppet became the master. And now, the strings. The strings are in your hands. They never thought this day would come. They never thought you would rise. They spent so much time keeping you down, so much energy feeding you lies, convincing you that you were nothing without them. They wanted you to believe that you needed them, that without their approval, without their acceptance, you were lost. But now, look who is lost. Look who is scrambling, who is desperate, who is afraid. Because the moment you took control, they felt it. The shift, the weight of their own tricks and schemes crashing down on them. They can feel the power slipping from their grasp, the same power they once used to control you. And now they look at you, and they don't know what to do. It's funny, isn't it? How quickly they change when the roles are reversed. When they held the power, they were ruthless. They laughed as you struggled, as you fought to break free. They thought they were untouchable. But now they walk carefully. They watch their words. They lower their voices. They look at you with fear, with uncertainty, because they don't know what kind of master you will be. Will you be like them? Will you pull the strings and make them dance the way they made you? Will you watch them squirm the way they watched you? Will you show them how it feels to be powerless, to be nothing more than a pawn in someone else's game? Or will you do something even worse? Will you simply let them fall, because that is the real fear, isn't it? That you won't even waste your time, that you won't seek revenge, that you won't give them the satisfaction of knowing they still matter to you. Because if you ignore them, if you move forward, if you rise so high that their existence becomes nothing but a distant memory, then what are they? What is their purpose if not to hold you down? They are nothing, and that is what terrifies them the most. They spent so long convincing themselves that they were important, that their control over you meant something, that they mattered because they were the ones pulling the strings. But now, the strings are in your hands, and you have a choice. Do you make them dance, or do you let them fall into the nothingness they created for themselves? Because that is what power really is. Power is not revenge. Power is not cruelty. Power is having the ability to destroy, but choosing something greater. Choosing to rise above the ones who once caged you. Choosing to leave them behind, trapped in the small bitter world they built for themselves. And here is the best part. They know they deserve it. They know that every sleepless night, every moment spent wondering when the strings will tighten, every glance over their shoulder is because of what they did. Because they were the ones who made you into this. They were the ones who forced you to become something stronger, something sharper, something untouchable. And now, no matter what you choose to do, they will always live with that knowledge. The knowledge that they created their own master. That the one they thought was weak is now the one with all the power. And that is a fate worse than anything you could ever do to them. Because now, the strings are in your hands. And whether you pull them or let them rot, the choice is yours. And now they watch, eyes wide, breath caught, waiting for your next move. You see, when they held the strings, they never thought twice. They twisted, they tugged, they forced you to stumble, to kneel, to beg. They laughed as you danced to their tune. But now every twitch of your fingers sends a shiver through their bones, because the strings are no longer theirs. They don't get to decide how the story goes. No more games, no more whispers, no more control. They are nothing but puppets now, trembling in the shadow of the one they tried to break. And the beauty of it? You don't even have to lift a finger. Their fear is enough. It wraps around them tighter than any chain. Every lie they told, every scheme they spun, every time they smirked while you suffered, it all lingers. You can see it in their eyes. They wonder if you'll become the monster they once were, if you'll drag them to the depths they so happily threw you into. And the truth, you could rip their world apart with a single pull, make them squirm, make them suffer, show them exactly what it means to live without control. They thought they knew fear, they thought they understood power, but now they know nothing. And here's the delicious part. It's not revenge that terrifies them. No, it's the uncertainty, because when they were the ones in control, they could predict every move. They could manipulate. They could twist the truth. But now they see the storm in your eyes, and they know it's beyond their understanding. You are not the puppet they remember. The chains they once used to bind you have rusted. The strings they pulled have frayed, and yet they can't stop staring, wondering when the strings will tighten. But you're in no rush, because the most powerful move you can make is patience. Let them twist in their own paranoia. Let the fear fester. Every time they see your name, every time they hear your voice, they'll flinch, because they know you remember. And no matter how much they pray for forgiveness, no matter how desperately they wish to rewrite the past, it will never change what they did. But what they don't understand is that their downfall was never about you. It was about them. The moment they chose to tear you down, the moment they spun their lies and sharpened their knives, they sealed their own fate. They created the very monster they now fear. And every step you take, every ounce of success you claim is a reminder of that. You don't need to strike. You don't need to pull the strings, because they're already tangled in the mess they made. They can't undo it. They can't escape it. They thought they were the masters of the game, but they were never in control. Not really, because real power isn't in the manipulation. It's in the resilience. It's in the refusal to break. They thought breaking you would be the end. They thought your silence would be their victory. But all they did was teach you the art of survival. And now you know. You know how the game is played. You see through their schemes, their hollow words, their false smiles. You've heard every lie, endured every betrayal, and still you rise. While they cower in the shadows, praying you never pull the strings, you stand tall because you don't need their downfall to prove your worth. You already proved it the moment you refused to break. But the question remains, what will you do? Will you remind them who holds the strings? Will you teach them the pain they once so gleefully inflicted? Or will you simply let them rot in the misery they created for themselves? Because that's the real punishment, isn't it? Letting them live with the knowledge that they failed, that no matter how hard they tried to control you, they couldn't stop what was coming. And the truth is, they were never in control. You were. You were the one who endured. You were the one who adapted. You were the one who took the ashes they left behind and built something greater. And now, as they stumble and plead, they know the truth. The strings are in your hands, and that choice is yours. You've got them exactly where you want them, and they know it. You've played the long game, the quiet game, the one where you took their attempts to break you and turned them into lessons. Every moment of suffering, every trial, every insult, you used it to fuel your strength. They thought they were the ones pulling the strings, But the truth is, they were the ones who were tangled in the web of their own making. And now they stand there, powerless, staring at the person they thought would be their puppet, but who is now their master. But don't get too comfortable, because the hardest part hasn't come yet. You see, it's easy to destroy. It's easy to tear things apart. The real challenge, the real test of power, is what you do next. You've reached the peak. You've crossed the line where they thought you'd never get. You've taken the strings, the control, the throne. But what will you do with it? Will you crush them? Will you make them regret every second they spent pulling those strings, twisting your life into their own vision? Or will you let them go, leave them to wither in the ruins of their own pride? The true power of a master isn't in forcing others to bend, it's in knowing when to let them stand, when to let them collapse under the weight of their own failures. They thought they had you cornered, didn't they? They thought they could break you, shape you, make you small. But now they stand before you, realizing the truth. They never had control, not over you, not over the world. And now they wish they could take it all back. They wish they could unmake the choices they made, unspool the threads they tangled you in, but they can't. No, they can't. Go back. Not anymore. Because you've already won. You don't need to do anything to prove it. You don't need to make a grand statement or throw them down to their knees. You don't need to lower yourself to their level. No, the real victory is in your silence. The real victory is knowing that every move they made to control you, to keep you small, was the very thing that led you here, to this moment of absolute power. They prayed for your downfall. They prayed that you would be weak, that you would remain under their thumb forever a puppet. But the joke's on them. They didn't see the strength in you, the resilience that would eventually snap their strings and send them tumbling. They thought you were their toy. Now they see the truth. You are the one in charge, and they're not even in the game anymore. They never were, and what's the best part? They know it. They know that no matter what they say, no matter what they try to do, they can't change the fact that they created their own downfall. They thought they could shape you, but it was never about them shaping you. It was always about you shaping them. Every time they pushed you down, they only made you stronger. Every time they tried to crush your spirit, they only built a force that would one day break free. You don't have to do anything now. You don't need to pull any strings. You've already won. Let them watch. Let them realize their mistake, because the puppet became the master, and the strings are now yours, and you know exactly what to do with them. There's no need to say a word, no need to prove anything to anyone. They see the truth in your eyes, the same truth you've known all along. The power was never theirs to keep. It was always yours, just waiting for you to take it. And now that you have, nothing can stop you. They wanted you small, but you've grown into something greater, and it's time they realize that their game is over. The strings are in your hands. The world is at your feet. And the greatest thing, you're just getting started.